The radio crackled violently, static cutting in and out. Lieutenant Jack Reynolds's voice trembling as he called for bearings. "I can't see. Instruments failing." The clouds pressed in like walls of white, swallowing the peaks below. Snow swirling violently in the gusting wind. The horizon vanished completely. A frozen, endless void stretching in every direction. His breath fogging inside the cockpit, each heartbeat echoing like a drum in the silence. Then, a silhouette emerged through the mist, silver against gray, moving with a precision that no ordinary plane could achieve. Reynolds blinked, unsure if it was a trick of the light, a hallucination brought on by cold and exhaustion. Yet it moved closer, maintaining a perfect formation, weaving through the clouds as if reading his thoughts, every maneuver impossible, yet undeniably real, guiding him through the tempest with silent authority. The instruments flickered in response, the compass spinning altimeter erratic, yet the phantom wingman's course remained steady. Reynolds gripped the controls tighter, eyes fixed on the apparition, trying to reconcile the impossible, while the wind shrieked against the fuselage. Lightning flashed across distant clouds, illuminating the spectral shape for a heartbeat, then gone. Only the memory of movement. A guide that vanished before confirmation, leaving more questions than answers. On the ground, radar operators reported nothing. Logs recorded only Reynolds's solitary flight. Yet in hushed tones, fellow pilots spoke of fleeting silver streaks through the clouds. Whispers of sky guardians lost in the vast Alaskan wilderness, returning to aid the living. Stories passed quietly in barracks airfields and frozen outposts. The line between fact and folklore already beginning to blur. A legend in motion, invisible yet unmistakable. Reynolds's journal later described sensations he could not name. The hum of engines that weren't there. Guidance felt rather than seen. A presence pressing him forward, yet intangible. Moments of pure terror softened by awe. The realization that something had intervened, saving him from an icy death, yet leaving no trace, no explanation, only questions, and a story that would ripple across decades whispered by those who dared to fly the northern skies. As night fell over Alaska, the storm raged on. Clouds hung low, the world disappearing into white. The lone pilot pressed onward, following the impossible, trusting instinct, fear, and the silent guidance of a being that should not exist. A guardian in the sky, a phantom wingman, and a moment that would etch itself into history, yet vanish from official record. A mystery poised to haunt every soul who gazes upward into the endless Alaskan heavens. Every gust of wind, every shimmer of silver in the clouds, every faint echo on the radio, became part of a tapestry, a story intertwining documented fact with folklore, creating an experience that blurred reality and legend, compelling anyone who hears it to ask, what truly watches over the skies when man is most vulnerable, and who decides which lives are spared? And so the stage is set, the horizon hidden, the pilot alone, yet not alone, guided by something beyond comprehension, an enigma that would defy explanation, tease logic, and linger in memory, leaving viewers suspended breath caught on the edge of understanding, as Alaska's icy expanse swallows the truth, and the legend begins to take flight. Alaska, early summer 1947. Jagged peaks stretched like frozen teeth into a pale sky. Glaciers gleamed faintly under weak sunlight. Rivers carved silent paths through ice, and scattered outposts marked human presence like islands in a white sea. Lieutenant Jack Reynolds prepared for a routine reconnaissance flight, checking instruments, altimeter, compass. The wind whistled through hangars and across the tarmac. Planes sat lined up in metallic stillness. The cold bit through leather gloves, chilling fingers and nerves. A sense of anticipation hung heavier than the clouds above, as if the land itself waited, something unseen, watching, stirring. The Mustang's engine roared to life, vibrating through the cockpit, gauges flickering with the rhythm of uncertainty. Reynolds taxied slowly, eyes scanning the horizon. Clouds hung low like walls. Snow whipped into miniature cyclones around the runway. The scent of fuel mingled with frost. Mechanics watched silently, tension etched into every furrowed brow. Radio operators typed notes furiously. A faint shimmer reflected on the fuselage, gone in a blink. Reynolds shook his head, dismissed it as exhaustion. Yet instinct prickled, urging vigilance. A whisper in the wind that something extraordinary awaited above. Takeoff was routine. Yet the sky seemed to breathe differently. A deep spectral hush in the upper air. Instruments hummed yet hinted at disturbances unseen. Altitude climbed clouds, swallowing the world below. The sun diffused into gray, shadowless light. Below glaciers sparkled rivers, twisted silently. The Mustang cut through mist, a lone metallic bird in an infinite void. Reynolds adjusted his course. Each maneuver met with strange resistance, as though air itself guided or hindered him, a presence in the unseen, shaping his path without physical form, coaxing him through the blank white wilderness. Official logs recorded times, headings, wind speeds, yet remarks noted an anomaly: unknown aircraft visual formation unconfirmed. Radar screens remained blank, no blips, no echoes. Yet Reynolds's journal described movements perfectly synchronized with his own. Silver flashes cutting through cloud banks, wings appearing and vanishing, a plane that should not exist. Documentation, incomplete fragments classified. A bureaucratic silence concealing the extraordinary. Ground crews whispered stories of silver streaks in the clouds, of aviators who never returned yet returned, guiding those who remained. The border between record and rumor blurred in that frozen expanse. The clouds pressed closer, twisting and folding unnaturally. Instruments flickered. Compass spun wildly. Altimeter jumped in patterns impossible by known physics. Yet the phantom wingman maintained perfect formation. Reynolds gripped controls, adrenaline mixing with awe. Snow streaked past each flake, catching faint light. Metallic glints hinted at motion beyond comprehension. Sound carried strangely, engine hums overlapping. Every maneuver orchestrated with precision. Every correction instinctive, as though guided by an intelligence invisible, and yet undeniably present, tangible only in survival. Moments stretched. Time became a fluid, uncertain river. Reynolds recalled distant lightning flashes illuminating glimpses of silver, fleeting, impossible to photograph, fleeting to record. Ground witnesses claimed nothing. Only his words and fear testified. Yet he felt the presence, warm, protective, guiding him between deadly peaks, past frozen rivers, over glaciers creaking under hidden stress. The legend of the Sky Guardians began to weave itself into reality, folklore rising from the thin, cold air, bending the edges of rational thought. The pilot's life intertwined with myth in real time. Alaska's vastness magnified every sensation. Wind screaming through struts, the Mustang trembling under invisible forces. Clouds forming shapes, shifting like living creatures. Snow patterns resembling wings or bodies. Reynolds noted in his journal, "Something watches, something guides. I cannot name it." Instruments obeyed no known laws, yet responded as though alive, as though in conversation with the phantom wingman, a presence manipulating reality, leading him through a landscape that should have killed him, alive only through impossible guidance, his survival a testament or a mystery. Impossible to separate fact from legend. On the ground, radar operators puzzled. Screens remained blank. Flight paths logged as Reynolds alone. Yet whispers circulated among pilots. Fleeting silver streaks. Unusual movements in clouds. Uncanny precision. Impossible maneuvers. Veteran aviators spoke of sky guardians lost decades before. Souls returning to aid the living. Folklore and fact entwined. A motif repeated across decades. Alaska becoming a crucible where reality bent, waiting for those who dared the skies. And those who survived carried its story, whether documented or whispered. It became part of the air itself. Reynolds's journal entries blended technical language with poetic reflection. Altitude heading speed, punctuated with phrases of awe and fear. I cannot explain. I follow. I survive. Instruments failed, winds pressed unpredictably, yet guidance remained consistent. Silver glints in clouds, shadowed forms moving as if alive. A guardian that existed only to save, fleeting, intangible, yet undeniably present. A pilot caught between the known and unknown, navigating a sky alive with mysteries, each decision guided by something he could neither see nor prove. A dance between survival and legend. Snowstorms intensified. Visibility dropped to mere meters. The Mustang shuddered. Reynolds leaned forward, eyes straining. Silver wings appeared, veiled in mist, following correcting coaxing. Gusts folded around the invisible presence. Instruments calmed only when it moved. A dialogue of air instinct and unseen hands. Lightning flashed, revealing fleeting silhouettes. Then darkness swallowed them. Survival depended on the impossible, an unrecorded, untraceable intervention. Alaska's skies became a theater for a story, part fact, part folklore. The boundaries dissolved with each maneuver. Every peak, glacier, and river seemed conscious, watching testing. The Mustang threading paths no pilot would normally dare. Wind carrying whispers, echoes of the past. Reports of lost aviators returning. Silver streaks reappearing, guiding again. Legend shaping reality, and reality reinforcing legend. Reynolds's journal became a map of survival, a map no one else could follow. Evidence fragmented, incomplete, classified, yet undeniable. His life preserved, carried by a presence unseen, a wingman never logged, a guardian never named. Moments of clarity punctuated terror, sun breaking through clouds revealing stretches of ice, distant peaks shimmering with cold light. Reynolds glimpsed movements too perfect, timing too precise, a dance beyond human skill. Wind bending around the phantom presence, engine hums overlapping unnaturally, fear mixed with awe, each second a lesson in humility, in trust, in surrender to forces unseen, a living legend guiding him through Alaska's deadly expanse, and the story taking shape, ready to ripple beyond its solitary witness. Ground crews recalled moments after flight, silence on radio frequencies. Logs marked pilot alone. Yet Reynolds' account persisted. Whispers in barracks spoke of silver forms darting through clouds, of aviators guiding the living, folklore and fact sharing the same space. Alaska's mountains holding secrets in ice and stone. Every peak a sentinel. Every glacier a mirror of mystery. The pilot's survival a bridge between the recorded and the rumored, between tangible and spectral. The phantom wingman leaving no trace, only questions, and a story that would echo for decades. As twilight descended over jagged peaks, clouds melting into the gray of night, Reynolds descended slowly, guided through impossible weather. Every detail etched into memory, instruments calm yet still unreliable, the Mustang cutting a path through cold, silent air, presence finally fading, leaving him alive yet changed. Alaska's sky empty again, yet full of questions, whispers, and legend. The line between fact and folklore irreparably blurred, and a story began to unfold, one that would haunt aviators, mystics, and historians alike. The phantom wingman that never existed, yet saved a life. Whispers circulated in remote Alaska airfields, veteran pilots speaking in hushed tones. Tales passed quietly over coffee and shared cigarettes. Silver streaks in the clouds, movements too precise to belong to any recorded squadron. Something watching, guiding, protecting. Folklore intertwining with fact in a way that blurred the line between memory and legend. Stories of sky guardians returning to aid those in peril. Spirits of aviators lost to the icy expanse, appearing when the living faced insurmountable danger. A tradition older than recorded flights, embedded in the very air. Across decades, the motif repeated. 1930s Midwest, a pilot guided through a storm by an unlogged aircraft. 1950s Korean skies, strange formations appearing to escort planes to safety. Eyewitness accounts varied. Instruments failed in tandem with the unseen guide. Radar detected nothing. Yet those who followed survived. A pattern emerging. Humans encountering phenomena beyond comprehension. Whispers of invisible guardians accompanying them through deadly skies, linking isolated incidents into a narrative that defied explanation. In Alaska, these stories took on a tangible texture. Villagers reported lights streaking unnaturally across the northern horizon, silver shapes gliding above treetops, auroras flickering as if in response. Flight crews spoke of shadows moving with the wind, gusts bending around shapes unseen, sounds of engines overlapping, movements appearing impossible. Folklore describing the spirits as protectors guiding pilots lost to weather or navigation. Names, unrecorded missions unlogged, yet every detail etched into memory. The line between myth and memory collapsing in the cold northern air. Reynolds himself began to notice parallels, descriptions of maneuvers echoing tales from past pilots, patterns too consistent to be coincidence, movements described as alive, deliberate, benevolent, and yet elusive. His journal filled with both technical language and poetic musings, attempts to reconcile the impossible with reason. Entries capturing awe, fear, and gratitude. A recognition that something beyond comprehension was orchestrating survival. A presence never documented, yet undeniably real. The phantom wingman, becoming part of a larger, repeating motif. Local folklore added layers of color. Hunters spoke of silver streaks dancing through storms. Old-timers warned of sky guardians appearing to guide the living, then disappearing before explanation. Some whispered of angels, some of lost pilots returning. Cautionary tales mixed with awe. A shared belief that the skies had memory, that those who vanished sometimes returned, in moments of extreme peril, to protect, to guide. A motif that transcended time, geography, and technology, resonating in the memory of every aviator who dared Alaska's vast expanse. Patterns emerged beyond Alaska. Scandinavian fjords, North Atlantic flights, Korean War sorties. Pilots recounted silver silhouettes guiding them through blizzards, storms, and radio silence. Equipment failing visibility zero, yet some presence persisted. Invisible hands steering planes through impossible paths. Sometimes observed, sometimes only felt. The motif of a guardian in the sky repeated. a template across eras, history echoing folklore, folklore shaping perception, a dance of survival that continued long after the last observer departed. In Reynolds's case, every detail mattered. The faint shimmer of metal in clouds, the hum of engines not his own, the way wind moved around the phantom presence, subtle but deliberate, guiding him over peaks, through valleys, past glaciers. Each maneuver a conversation, a dialogue of instinct survival and unseen intervention. The story weaving together fact and legend into an inseparable whole. The Sky Guardian acting as both myth and reality, tangible yet impossible to log. A protector invisible to all but the one in danger. Even after landing, the stories persisted. Crew members reporting anomalies in radar logs, instruments behaving strangely, silver glints caught in peripheral vision, whispers of another flight in the hangar, journals documenting movements that defied physics. Skepticism and belief collided. Official records silent, yet first-hand testimony undeniable. The bridge between folklore and fact strengthened. Alaska itself becoming a stage where ordinary pilots could encounter the extraordinary, an environment where legends walked alongside reality, waiting for those who dared to look skyward. The bridge extended to other isolated incidents, pilots in other regions reporting similar guidance during storms, patterns of survival linked by untraceable aircraft, strange formations, invisible hands saving lives, the motif resonating across decades, every account reinforcing the idea that some phenomenon persisted, benevolent, inscrutable, appearing only when human survival was at stake. A force acting outside bureaucratic record, yet intimately tied to those who lived, weaving narrative threads that spanned time and geography. Folklore added texture to Reynolds's experience. Visions of winged guardians appearing in storms, legends of ancestral aviators returning to aid the living, whispers of protection that could not be explained, shapes folding into clouds, vanishing before observation. Patterns repeating with eerie precision, pilots sensing a presence, instruments behaving erratically, yet survival ensured. Alaska's wild skies became an arena for both memory and myth. Every gust, every shimmer, every shadow reinforcing the motif, linking past and present into a continuous narrative. The bridge also suggested intention. This phenomenon seemed selective, appearing to those in critical danger, invisible yet guiding, survival dependent on trust in the unseen. Instruments obeying unknown rules, skies alive with intervention. A recurring motif suggesting intelligence, benevolent, inscrutable, a pattern repeating across decades, across continents, across cultures. The Sky Guardian archetype emerging, both a protector and a legend, bridging fact and folklore seamlessly, shaping history in ways unseen, unrecorded, yet unforgettable. Evidence fragmented, documentation incomplete, eyewitness accounts sometimes contradictory, yet the recurring motif undeniable, silver streaks in clouds, guidance through storms, survival against odds, folklore explaining what fact could not, pilot journals recording the impossible, stories whispered in barracks, repeated across generations, a phenomenon that refused categorization, the bridge connecting singular events into a recognizable pattern, shaping both perception and reality, and compelling every listener to question, what watches over the skies when humans are most vulnerable? Reynolds's story fit the motif perfectly. The phantom wingman saving a life, instruments failing, clouds thick, yet guidance never wavered. A presence both protective and elusive. The repeated theme of Sky Guardians connecting his experience to those of other pilots, folklore echoing across decades. Alaska as both witness and canvas. Survival achieved, questions unanswered, reality and legend coalescing. A bridge not only through geography, but through time, connecting those who saw, those who survived, and those who would hear the tale. And so the stage was set. Alaska's skies empty again, yet full of memory. The motif clear, a guardian appearing when danger peaked, disappearing before confirmation, shaping both survival and story. The bridge between fact and folklore complete. A pilot alive, a presence invisible, and a legend beginning to grow. A motif repeating through time, space, and human experience, leaving viewers suspended between what is known and what can only be imagined. As the story continued to unfold, reaching toward the next chapter and the next encounter, in the endless sky, the clouds thickened, swallowing Reynolds's Mustang whole. Visibility vanished, instruments spinning wildly, altimeter jumping, compass needle twitching erratically, yet the silver shape remained just ahead, guiding, impossible. His heart raced with fear and awe. Every instinct screamed to turn back. Yet the phantom wingman pressed him forward, a silent command etched into the rhythm of the wind. Each maneuver precise beyond human capability, defying physics, defying logic. A dance of life and death played out above glaciers and jagged peaks. Lightning illuminated the apparition for a heartbeat. A gleaming wingtip cutting through gray, then gone, yet leaving a memory burned into the retina. Reynolds's mind struggled to comprehend. Instruments failed intermittently, as if acknowledging a presence beyond understanding. Radio crackled. Faint static voices whispered warnings, warnings he could not decipher, yet somehow understood. The Mustang shuddered under forces invisible, every gust of wind bending unnaturally around him, as if the air itself conspired to guide, or to test, the limits of survival. Moments stretched into eternity. Reynolds followed the path carved by the unseen. Clouds swirling in impossible patterns, snow drifting like smoke, shapes forming and dissolving. Echoes of engines not his own blending with his Mustang's roar. Every second a trial. Every turn a lesson in trust. Fear and awe intertwining. He felt the presence close, tangible yet untouchable. Guiding hands invisible. Correcting course. Dodging peaks that should have been fatal. Survival dictated by something beyond comprehension. An intelligence benevolent yet inscrutable. The terrain below became an alien landscape. Glaciers reflecting strange, shifting light. Crevasses yawning like mouths ready to swallow. Rivers frozen in impossible geometries. Wind bending unnaturally over ridges. Trees swaying where there was no breeze. Instruments flickering in synchrony with movement above. The phantom wingman executing maneuvers Reynolds could only describe as deliberate, purposeful, almost sentient. The line between aircraft and spirit blurred, each silver flash marking a decision, a life preserved, yet officially non-existent. Reynolds's journal captured the terror and the wonder. Notes alternating between technical jargon and poetic reflection. It moves with me, ahead of me, around me, guiding me through a storm that should have killed us. I cannot explain, yet I survive. He recorded every shimmer, every shadow, every impossible adjustment. The Mustang responding to guidance untraceable. Radar logs incomplete. Ground observers noting nothing, only his testimony. A narrative bridging fact and legend. Survival and myth converging in the frozen Alaskan sky. Radio communications flickered. crackling with interference. Faint voices sometimes overlaying his own, warnings or guidance indistinguishable. The presence silent in comparison, yet dominating the scene. Reynolds followed instinct, trusting a being that should not exist. Every maneuver choreographed by something beyond measurement. Altitude adjustments, precise banking. Perfect engine hums synchronized. Survival hanging on an invisible thread. His very life tethered to a wingman officially absent, yet undeniably there, shaping fate itself. The storm intensified. Snow reduced visibility to mere feet. Turbulence tossing the Mustang like a leaf. Lightning revealing glimpses of silver. Wings cutting the sky. Yet every flash lasted only a heartbeat, leaving more questions than answers. Reynolds felt the presence in every fiber. The phantom wingman, a guardian protector and enigma. Instruments obeying forces unknown. The air alive with guidance. The pilot alive only through trust in something invisible. Defying logic, bureaucracy, and recorded history. Suspended in a moment both terrifying and sublime. At one point, Reynolds swerved to avoid a peak, the Mustang nearly spinning, yet the invisible guide anticipated each movement, wings weaving, shadowing, pressing. The air seemed to bend, clouds parting to allow passage, instruments stabilizing unnaturally, a coalescence of fact and folklore. His survival dictated by patterns repeated in stories decades before. Echoes of past legends intertwining with present reality. Alaska's sky becoming a theater for an impossible narrative. Every second imprinting the impossible onto memory. Then came a sudden silence. The storm parted briefly. Snowflakes glittering. Mountain peaks glowing in pale light. And for an instant, he could see the phantom wingman fully. Silver fuselage shimmering, wings perfectly formed, a figure alive with purpose, guiding, correcting, vanishing before comprehension. A guardian performing acts no human could replicate, existing only to preserve life. A being absent from logs, absent from radar, yet present, undeniable, unforgettable. Every attempt to record or photograph failed. Instruments dropped signals. Radar showed nothing. Yet testimony persisted. Reynolds's journal, declassified decades later, detailed movements impossible to verify. Co-pilot statements inconsistent. Ground crew observations contradictory. Fragments of evidence pointing in multiple directions. Yet the recurring motif of protection emerged. Survival orchestrated by something unseen. A story blending fact, folklore, and awe. Leaving investigators, historians, and future pilots questioning what truly occurred above the frozen wilderness. The final descent. Clouds thinning. Mountains receding. The Mustang's engine humming steadily. Guidance fading. Reynolds realizing the phantom wingman had disappeared, leaving him alive unscathed. Instruments normal, the storm abating. Yet the memory etched into mind and body. Alaska's sky empty, yet full. Questions lingering, awe persisting. The boundary between reality and legend irreparably blurred. Survival owed to a being officially non-existent, a wingman invisible, yet undeniably present in every heartbeat and every shadow of memory. Even after landing, crew members puzzled, radar logs blank, official reports noting only Reynolds's solo flight, yet whispers persisted, silver streaks, unexplained guidance, echoes of sky guardians from folklore, stories merging across decades, legend validating fact, fact enriching legend. The motif solidified, survival tied to invisible intervention, an enigma preserved in memory, and the mystery of the phantom wingman reaching toward myth. Alaska's sky a canvas, the impossible painted in silver, ephemeral yet permanent in legacy. The climax left more questions than answers. A pilot saved by a being recorded nowhere, instruments and radar incapable of confirmation, eyewitness testimony fleeting, folklore rising to fill gaps left by official record. Every detail both real and surreal, a dance between survival and legend, a story demanding contemplation, disbelief, wonder, and respect. The frozen wilderness serving as both stage and witness, the invisible hand that guided a man through the storm, leaving behind a narrative as haunting as it was impossible, a legacy ready to echo across decades. And so Alaska's sky fell silent. Yet the memory remained, the phantom wingman gone, leaving only awe, fear, and questions. Instruments returned to normal, snow settling, clouds dispersing. Yet the legend had been written, fact and folklore intertwined. Survival a testament to something beyond comprehension, something officially non-existent, yet undeniably present, a guardian in the sky, invisible, inscrutable, leaving viewers suspended between belief and skepticism, between what can be recorded and what can only be experienced. The climax solidifying the enigma. Reynolds touched down on the icy runway, engine winding down, snow settling softly around the Mustang. Yet the memory of the silver wing remained vivid. Ground crews rushed forward, checking instruments, scanning the sky. Radar logs blank. Official reports noting only a solitary flight. Yet his heart and mind knew otherwise. A presence had guided him, saved him. The invisible intervention impossible to reconcile with documentation. Alaska's vastness keeping its secrets close, leaving only echoes in the minds of those who witnessed. News of the flight spread quietly among veterans, whispered in hangars and barracks, each retelling adding layers of awe. Skepticism mingled with belief, some dismissing it as fatigue, hallucination. Yet every detail Reynolds recounted was consistent. Journals, logbooks, personal notes, all pointing to the impossible. Every movement of the Mustang mirrored in silver flashes above. A guardian wingman that officially never existed, yet undeniably present, shaping survival in a storm the instruments could not record. A legend taking root in real time. Reynolds's diary became a source of fascination. Historians, pilots, and folklorists poring over every line, alternating between technical precision and poetic uncertainty. Altitudes, headings, maneuvers detailed, interspersed with awe, fear, and gratitude. Attempts to explain defied logic. Instruments obeyed unknown forces. Clouds bent around the phantom presence. Every detail a clue, yet always incomplete. Fragments of reality blended with folklore, leaving readers suspended between disbelief and wonder. The story becoming both report and myth. Witnesses at remote stations described the strange conditions. Clouds forming unnatural shapes. Wind patterns impossible by known physics. Lights moving in the distance, sometimes reflecting metallic glints. Mechanics recalling the Mustang's instruments behaving strangely. Co-pilots offering conflicting accounts. Yet all agreed something extraordinary had occurred. Something that left no trace on official records. The phenomenon invisible, yet tangible to those who experienced it. A legacy in the air, written in memory and whispered in corridors, shaping the narrative for decades. Reynolds returned to base, debriefed under strict confidentiality. Investigators perplexed, no radar confirmation, no secondary aircraft, instruments calibrated normally, yet his own testimony unwavering. The presence described in meticulous detail, guidance through impossible maneuvers, protection from the storm, survival beyond odds. Alaska's sky had claimed another story, one part fact, one part folklore. Every observer sensing the boundary between them dissolving. A guardian that existed in memory as much as in action. In the weeks following, rumors circulated. Pilots swearing they glimpsed silver streaks in clouds, lights moving unnaturally, instruments responding erratically in moments of crisis. Tales from past decades resurfaced, stories of sky guardians guiding aviators in storms. Legend validating reality, reality confirming legend. Alaska becoming a crucible for the impossible, a place where ordinary flights intersected with extraordinary intervention. The motif repeating, survival intertwined with myth. And those who saw could never fully explain it, only remember. The motif extended beyond Alaska. Isolated incidents in other regions mirrored the experience. Pilots reporting ghostly wingmen in storms, instruments failing, guidance impossible, lives saved. Folklore emerging from survival, repeated across decades and continents. Patterns reinforcing each other. A narrative built from fragments. Each encounter echoing the last. A bridge linking fact and myth, showing that the phenomenon was neither singular nor purely imagined, but part of a larger recurring enigma, shaping human perception of the skies. Reynolds's own reflections grew more contemplative. He recognized the presence not as threat but as protector, guiding him when human skill would fail, a being outside protocol, outside recording, yet intimately tied to survival. The experience altering his perception of flight, of risk, of life itself, a lesson in humility, in trust, in surrender to forces beyond comprehension. Alaska's frozen skies teaching him truths that instruments could never capture, truths encoded in legend, in memory, in the echo of wings unseen. Ground crews continued to report anomalies, instruments behaving oddly, unexplained glints in clouds, silver streaks visible only momentarily, whispers circulating quietly, patterns emerging from years of isolated incidents, folklore and reality intertwined. Pilots retelling tales of ghostly guardians, each account strengthening the motif. Repeated interventions across decades suggesting intelligence, benevolent, inscrutable, guiding those in peril. Alaska's sky a repository for the unexplained, a canvas on which legends were painted in fleeting silver light, permanent in memory. The legacy of Reynolds's flight endured, influencing subsequent training and reporting, inspiring cautious pilots to remain vigilant, to respect the unpredictable, to acknowledge forces beyond comprehension. Sky Guardians entering the lexicon of flight folklore, blending with radar logs, mission reports, and personal journals, the impossible preserved in narrative, survival encoded in legend, a pattern repeated across time and space, a testament to the phenomenon that defied confirmation, yet demanded belief. Alaska's frozen wilderness holding secrets in every gust, every cloud, every glint of silver. Historians and folklorists later analyzed parallels, incidents in other regions, recurring motifs, guidance through storms, impossible maneuvers, protective invisible presences, evidence fragmented, testimony compelling, instruments silent, radar blank. Pattern undeniable. The phantom wingman phenomenon emerging as a recurring archetype, connecting individuals, times, and geographies, a bridge between human experience and unexplained intervention, survival intertwined with myth. Alaska's legend extending beyond its borders, shaping narratives of aviation folklore and human awe. Even decades later, pilots reported similar experiences, fleeting silver forms, guidance when visibility failed, instruments erratic, yet safety preserved. The motif persisted. Alaska no longer unique, the phenomenon recurring, shaping perception, inspiring caution, reverence, and wonder. Stories shared quietly across generations, reinforcing the bridge between fact and legend. Survival intertwined with the inexplicable. The phantom wingman becoming a symbol, a guardian, an enduring mystery, invisible yet undeniable, forever part of aviation lore. The echoes reached beyond aviation. Artists, writers, storytellers, inspired by the phantom wingman, weaving accounts into literature and myth, blending personal testimony with folklore, creating a narrative that spanned fact, imagination, and legend. Alaska's sky became both setting and character, a crucible where the extraordinary manifested, the invisible guiding the vulnerable, history and myth coexisting, reality bending to accommodate survival, a story to haunt imaginations, compelling future generations to look up, to question, to wonder what flies unseen. And so the aftermath left Reynolds changed. The memory of the silver wing seared into consciousness. Alaska's vast expanse carrying both mystery and lesson. Official records silent, yet legend vocal. The motif enduring. Sky guardians persistent. A bridge between human perception and forces beyond understanding. The echoes of that day rippling through aviation history, folklore, and personal testimony, leaving viewers suspended, between disbelief and awe, between recorded fact and memory. The phantom wingman alive in legacy, a guardian in the sky, invisible, inscrutable, yet undeniably present. The storm intensified, clouds roiling like boiling water, the Mustang buffeted by gusts that seemed alive, snow stinging the windshield, instruments flickering wildly, altimeter spinning, compass needle jerking erratically. Yet ahead, a silver shape moved with impossible precision, weaving, banking, guiding, every maneuver orchestrated by something beyond comprehension. Reynolds gripped the controls, every fiber tense, survival dependent on a presence that should not exist, yet undeniably real, a guardian in the sky. Lightning split the clouds, illuminating the phantom wingman in a flash of brilliance, metallic glinting wings cutting through gray, then gone, leaving only memory and instinct, every movement precise beyond human capability. Reynolds's mind raced, processing impossible geometry, impossible timing, instruments failing in tandem with the presence. Radio crackled faintly with ghostly interference, voices distorted, unintelligible, yet somehow meaningful. The Mustang responded as if listening to commands from an unseen hand. Survival dictated by the impossible. The terrain below became a labyrinth of ice and stone, crevasses yawning like waiting jaws, jagged peaks puncturing the low clouds, rivers frozen in unnatural patterns. Yet every maneuver the Mustang made was mirrored by the phantom wingman, guiding, protecting, shaping the path of survival. Clouds twisted unnaturally, winds bending in impossible arcs, every motion choreographed, every second a trial, fear and awe intertwining, the boundary between reality and legend dissolving, survival and myth inseparable. Reynolds's journal captured terror and wonder alike, altitudes, headings, maneuvers recorded with obsessive detail, interspersed with poetic reflection. It moves with me, ahead, around, guiding me through death itself. I cannot explain, yet I survive. Instruments obeyed no known laws, Winds shaped unnaturally, silver glints in clouds, shadows moving as if alive, a dialogue of survival unfolding. Alaska's sky transformed into a theater of impossible guidance, a being acting as protector, invisible yet tangible, defying explanation, defying record. Every turn, climb, and dive pushed the Mustang to its limits, turbulence shaking the airframe, Reynolds's hands gripping controls, instinct intertwined with trust in the unseen. The phantom wingman adjusting, correcting, a dance of survival in the void. Instruments flickered, radar blank, yet guidance perfect, impossible precision, a presence benevolent, inscrutable, alive only in perception. Alaska's sky holding both danger and salvation, reality bending to accommodate the impossible, myth solidifying in real time. At one point, a sudden gust threatened to spin the Mustang into a peak. The plane jolted violently, yet the wingman anticipated maneuvering with impossible foresight. Clouds parted briefly, revealing jagged peaks bathed in pale light, silver flash cutting through gray, guidance unseen yet absolute, every movement choreographed, the air bending around the phantom presence, the line between aircraft and spirit blurred, survival contingent on a being officially non-existent, yet undeniably present, shaping fate itself. The storm reached its crescendo, snow turning to white haze, visibility near zero, lightning flashes revealing glimpses of impossible shapes, wings moving in perfect synchronization, engine hums overlapping unnaturally, every motion deliberate, every correction precise. Reynolds's heart pounded, terror and awe blending. He felt the presence everywhere, tangible yet untouchable, guiding over peaks, glaciers, and frozen rivers. Life preserved by the invisible, the impossible realized. Alaska's wilderness as crucible for legend. Moments of calm flickered. Reynolds glimpsed the phantom wingman fully, metallic sheen glinting, wings perfectly formed, a presence alive with purpose, guiding, correcting, vanishing before comprehension. Every maneuver impossible, orchestrated to preserve life. Instruments behaving impossibly. Radar blank. Ground observers noting nothing, yet survival ensured. Reality and folklore merging. Alaska's sky both stage and character. A guardian acting outside human knowledge. Official records silent. Memory eternal. The final descent brought fleeting clarity. Clouds thinning. Peaks receding. Mustang engine humming steadily. Guidance fading. Reynolds realizing the presence had departed, leaving him alive unscathed. Instruments returning to normal. Storm abating. Yet awe remained. Alaska's sky empty, yet full. Questions lingering. The phantom wingman's invisible hand etched in memory. Survival intertwined with legend. Reality bending to accommodate myth. The climax cementing the enigma, leaving the viewer suspended, caught between disbelief and wonder. Even after landing, crew members puzzled, radar logs blank, official reports documenting only Reynolds' solo flight. Yet whispers persisted, silver streaks seen fleetingly, instruments acting strangely. The motif of the Guardian repeated, folklore validating fact, fact enriching legend. Alaska as witness and stage, survival dictated by forces invisible. The climax leaving more questions than answers. A pilot saved, a guardian unseen, a story defying documentation. The phantom wingman alive in memory, intangible yet undeniable. The climax revealed contradictions, co-pilot statements inconsistent, instruments unreliable, logs incomplete, yet patterns undeniable, repeated motifs of guidance through peril, silver flashes in clouds, interventions precise, deliberate, benevolent, Alaska's sky alive with unseen intelligence, history and folklore intertwining, every observer forever changed, survival preserved, the invisible shaping narrative, myth blending with reality, leaving the story open-ended, compelling future aviators to question what truly watches over the skies, what guides when danger peaks. Legends began to crystallize, whispers spreading among pilots, silver streaks, impossible maneuvers, interventions unexplained, sky guardians entering oral history, folklore reinforcing survival stories, Alaska's wilderness holding secrets in peaks, glaciers, and clouds, every gust, shimmer, and shadow echoing the climax, reality deferring to legend, yet fact persistent in witness testimony, survival intertwined with the impossible, a narrative expanding across decades, motifs repeating globally, a guardian wingman emerging as enduring symbol, invisible, inscrutable, yet undeniably present. The climax left a haunting impression, terror, awe, and relief coexisting, instruments returned to normal, radar blank, memory vivid, Alaska's skies now quiet. Yet the story echoed, a pilot saved by a presence officially non-existent, myth and fact entwined, a legacy established, questions unanswered, awe lingering, reality bending to allow survival, folklore embracing fact. Every subsequent encounter colored by this day, the phantom wingman cemented as guardian enigma and legend, hovering between tangible and impossible, indelible in memory. And so the stage was set for aftermath. Survival secured, legend born, the invisible hand receding, yet the echoes remained. Alaska's vast expanse holding secrets, wings vanished, memory persistent, instruments normal, snow settling, clouds dispersing, the climax complete, yet questions lingering, the guardian unseen, the enigma undeniable, leaving viewers suspended between disbelief and belief, fact and folklore, reality and legend, a story destined to ripple through time, reaching toward the next chapter, the next flight, the next encounter. Alaska's sky had returned to silence, clouds drifting lazily across jagged peaks, snow settling over glaciers like a frozen shroud. Yet the memory of the silver wing lingered, in the mind of Reynolds, in the whispers of ground crews, in the hushed stories shared by pilots, a presence that defied logic, invisible, inscrutable, yet undeniably real. The phantom wingman became legend, hovering on the edge of fact and folklore, a guardian whose existence could neither be confirmed nor denied, but whose impact was undeniable. Years later, investigators pored over logs, radar traces, and journals, piecing together fragments of the impossible, instruments showing nothing unusual, witnesses offering conflicting accounts. Yet patterns emerged. Survival against impossible odds, maneuvers guided with uncanny precision, motifs repeated across decades, across continents, stories of invisible guardians protecting those in peril, Alaska's frozen expanse acting as both stage and witness, reality bending to allow legend to flourish, the phantom wingman etched into collective memory. Reynolds himself never forgot. Every gust of wind, every shimmer of cloud, evoked the presence, lessons of trust, humility, and surrender to forces beyond understanding, the experience changing him forever. Alaska's sky a silent mentor, guiding not only the pilot, but generations who would hear the story. A story of survival mystery and the invisible forces watching over the skies, blending awe with terror, fact with folklore, memory with myth. Folklore carried the story beyond official records, whispered in airfields, barracks, and aviation circles, silver streaks in storms becoming a motif of hope and protection. Sky guardians woven into the tapestry of aviation legend, warnings and lessons hidden within narrative, life preserved by unseen hands, a presence guiding the lost, disappearing before observation. The phenomenon recurring in different skies, different eras, yet always serving the same purpose: survival, guidance, protection. An enigma without name, yet real in consequence. The echoes of that day resonated through decades, influencing pilots' perceptions, inspiring caution and reverence. Lessons of the unknown embedded into training and lore. Alaska's vastness holding secrets too great to document fully. Stories blending folklore with verified fact. Journals and logs providing only fragments. The rest left to interpretation, imagination, and memory. The phantom wingman became a symbol, a guardian archetype, invisible yet influential, shaping both survival and storytelling, bridging the gap between human understanding and the incomprehensible. Even today, sightings persist, fleeting silver forms in storms, instruments behaving strangely, pilots sensing guidance without visual confirmation. The motif enduring, a reminder that some forces are unseen, some guardians remain invisible, their acts unrecorded yet impactful. Alaska's sky a living canvas, holding both mystery and memory, the impossible made tangible through survival. And every story retold, reinforcing the bridge between legend and fact, keeping the guardian alive in consciousness, hovering just beyond certainty, yet profoundly real. And so the story leaves us suspended between disbelief and wonder, between what is recorded and what is remembered. The phantom wingman alive in every whispered account, every journal entry, every silver streak glimpsed in the clouds, a legacy of protection and mystery. Alaska holding its secrets, the frozen expanse keeping the invisible close, guiding, shaping, preserving, and challenging our understanding of the skies above. What other guardians watch, unseen, untold, waiting for those in peril. Their presence felt only when life hangs in balance, yet never fully known. You've just witnessed another account from Shadow Stories, a tale where fact and folklore intertwine, where survival meets the impossible, where Alaska's skies conceal both danger and guardianship, and where the line between reality and legend blurs. If you want to explore more encounters that defy explanation, subscribe and join us as we follow the invisible through history, mystery, and the unexplained, remembering that sometimes the most profound forces are those we cannot see, yet feel, in every gust, every shadow, every heartbeat under an endless sky.